We tend to assume that operating at the absolute peak of human endurance makes your cardiovascular system bulletproof. Meet Dr. Peter Megdal. In 2010, he was a 50-year-old elite cyclist, training and competing at a level of physical conditioning higher than 99% of the population. This visualization tracks a power meter attached to his bike. During races that year, Megdal noticed an anomaly. His raw power output suddenly plunged by 15%. His coaches and friends blamed the decline on normal aging, but Megdal is a data-driven PhD researcher. He knew the math. A sudden 15% drop violates the standard biological curve of getting older. He sought out medical specialists to find the real variable. Looking exceptionally fit on the outside guarantees absolutely nothing about the actual condition of your arteries on the inside. Megdal visited a cardiologist who specializes in athletes. He was put on a treadmill and he passed a maximum oxygen uptake stress test with flying colors. His baseline fitness was so high, the doctor initially thought he was fine. This diagram shows his EKG readout from that test, revealing a very specific red flag, an ST segment depression. This electrical signal indicates cardiac ischemia, which is a medical term for reduced blood flow to the heart muscle. The doctor thought it might just be a glitch in the data. To prove it, they performed an invasive angiogram, routing a wire directly up into his heart and injecting a visible dye to map the blood flow. The imaging showed 5 major blockages actively choking his coronary arteries. One of those blockages was situated squarely in the left anterior descending artery, a vessel widely known in medicine as the widowmaker. The danger was immediate and severe. Both of his parents, as well as his 42-year-old younger brother, had already died from sudden heart attacks. A severe genetic predisposition to arterial plaque builds a silent, lethal environment in the body, completely indifferent to how many miles you pedal. The doctors immediately installed a wire stent. This mechanical device forced the blocked artery open, and within 3 days, Megdal was back on his bike, convinced the problem was solved. Look at this line chart tracking his subsequent post-surgery oxygen uptake. Instead of bouncing back to his previous peak, his performance actually dropped another 5%. A stent is an emergency plumbing patch. It forcefully treats a single localized blockage to keep you alive, but it does absolutely nothing to stop the systemic disease actively generating plaque throughout the rest of your cardiovascular system. You cannot cut or prop your way back to peak human performance if the underlying biological environment producing the disease remains untouched. Frustrated by the surgical letdown, Megdal approached his failing cardiovascular system the way a PhD approaches a research problem. He dove directly into the primary scientific data to find a systemic cure. He uncovered heavily cited clinical literature from researchers like Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and Colin Campbell. Their data showed how to reverse atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries caused by plaque deposits, through strict nutritional protocols. Despite growing up in Texas on a traditional meat-heavy diet, Megdal initiated a rigid behavioral intervention. He completely eliminated all animal products and adopted a low-fat, whole-food plant-based diet. This dual bar chart maps his biochemical response. Within months, his total cholesterol fell from 200 to 150, and his LDL dropped from 140 to 100. His energy returned, but given his family's highly lethal medical history, he knew he had to drive those lipid numbers even closer to zero. Extreme dietary shifts successfully alter the mathematics of cholesterol in the blood, but high-risk genetics demand solutions that go beyond the limits of a kitchen. He initially added a standard statin medication to lower his numbers further, but it caused severe muscle pain. For a competitive endurance athlete, degrading muscle tissue is an absolute deal-breaker. So he switched his strategy to a secondary pharmacological intervention, an injectable biologic drug known as a PCSK9 inhibitor. This model demonstrates the drug disabling a protein, which frees the liver to aggressively clear cholesterol from the bloodstream. Following injections, internal data shifted rapidly. Total cholesterol plummeted to 70, and LDL crashed to 20, with zero side effects impacting training. Targeted modern medication forces open the biological roadblocks, clearing out the blood in a way that lifestyle modifications alone cannot achieve. 6 months after locking in this strict dietary and pharmacological protocol, Megdal returned to the performance lab to measure his new internal baseline. This line graph maps his new oxygen uptake. The data was staggering. His VO2 max metric surged upward by 15%, entirely erasing his initial pre-surgery decline. The internal hearing translated directly to the track. He won the regional time trial championships, stood on the podium at nationals, and set a velodrome track record, traveling nearly 29 miles in a single hour. Halting and reversing arterial plaque at the cellular level rebuilds your capacity for maximum physical output. You do not need to race bicycles at 50 years old to suffer from heart disease. The mechanics of reversing it apply exactly the same to the general public. The clinical consensus is absolute. The link between high blood cholesterol and cardiovascular disease is as irrefutable as the link between smoking and lung cancer. People often treat diet and drugs as opposing tribes, but neither is a standalone magic bullet for severe cardiovascular blockages. Combining a strict, whole-food, plant-based nutrition plan with modern pharmacological tools creates a compounding effect, aggressively stabilizing your arteries and shrinking the plaque. A fit exterior hides the truth. You must measure your internal metrics and hit them with a combined intervention strategy to keep the blood flowing and truly protect your heart.